Good morning, everyone. I have 9 o'clock here in southern Illinois, a little bit snowy, but definitely sunny this morning. So we are thrilled to be here with you, and thank you for signing on to learn more about Friends with FieldView. This is a series that we're beginning, and Scott Speck, who is a Climate Activation Manager on the line with us this morning, will give a little bit more about that. We also have a couple friends of ours from Centerra joining us. But before we get to that information, Greg, if you will go ahead and go to the next slide, we do have a bit of housekeeping to take care of. So there are 2 ways that you can ask questions with this webinar. You can do them through the Q&A or the chat. I'll be monitoring both of those for your questions, and we will get those posed to our panelists at the end of the session. If you do not see the Q&A box or the chat over on the right-hand side of your screen, just select either the chat or the question mark that is at the bottom middle of your screen, and that will allow you to interact with questions for this webinar. The other thing that I need to take care of for housekeeping as well is that Friends of FieldView is a webinar series that is for informational purposes only. The Climate Corporation has not vetted and does not endorse any claims made by third parties. And so with all of those housekeeping and legalese components taken care of, I will pass things over to Scott Speck, who is a Climate Activation Manager who has been coordinating the Friends with FieldView series, and he is going to get us started.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thanks so much, Mindy, for the introduction. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for our first installment of this Friends with FieldView series. Like Mindy said, my name is Scott Speck. I'm an Activation Manager for the Climate Corporation, supporting our Central Plains region. We're really excited to be kicking off this series, and I'll give some context into the webinars for today as well as those to come in the next few weeks. Really the goal of Friends of FieldView is to provide general awareness of our platform partners that are integrated with climate, both to customers as well as yourselves as dealers of Climate FieldView, while providing a good opportunity to learn more about these partner products, the support and teams that they have, as well as offers that are specific to our climate customers as well as yourselves. Today, we're going to start the series with Centerra, and then throughout the next few weeks, we will continue with additional partners integrated with Climate FieldView. This morning, I'm going to pass it over to Dallas Ford, Director of Business Development at Centerra, as well as Greg Thompson, Solutions Architect with Centerra. Again, thanks for joining us, and please ask questions as we go along, and we'll address those when we get to the end of the presentation. So again, thanks for joining, and Greg and Dallas, it's all yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott, and good morning, everyone. We appreciate everyone taking the time this morning. So what we want to do is we want to walk through our platform, Centerra, and more importantly, how you utilize it to conduct your daily tasks, which ultimately end in selling whatever it is you're tasked to sell, whether it's seed, whether it's chemicals, whether it's equipment. We're going to walk through how capturing data, visualizing information, and relaying that to your customer is a valuable tool that can help your sales cycle be easier, and most importantly, can be conducted inside of Climate FieldView. So that's our goal today. And remember, the Q&A section on the bottom of the screen. Anything comes up that you have questions, please ask a question. We'll address them at the end of the presentation. So once again, I'm Greg Thompson. I'm a Solutions Architect at Centerra. What that means is I work with you all. I work with Climate. I work with our customers, dealers, growers, to ensure that what you need is included in our software and you receive the value out of it. Most importantly, your customers do as well. And also Dallas Ford, who's our Director of Business Development. Our contact information will be listed at the end. So if you have any questions, if there's any follow-ups, we'll guide you in the right direction and get you to where you need to go. So a little bit about our process. So what Centerra does is we take multiple pieces of data and we put them into one area and we present that back to you. So we start our day with monitoring. What does that mean? That means satellite data, weather data, soil data, taking all of those things, mashing them together, and feeding you information on where there might be an area of interest. What's the value of that? Think about satellite images. If you go in and look at it, you got to hunt and peck and you got to find where there's a change. What we do is we'll take the last 2 passes, compare them with each other, and isolate an area of difference and notify you that there's that instance. So think about how you can leverage that. That is delivered to your homepage, also your email. So it's delivered to you. You don't need to look for it, and you can simply pick up the phone. Hey, Dallas, I see there's an issue in the northeast corner of Dad's 80. Do you want me to drop a pin in climate so you know where it's at? See what I did there? I utilized Sentera to get informed, but I use climate to engage. Do you want me to drop a pin? Do you want me to come out? Do you want me to send someone out? Whatever mechanism you utilize, you just created stickiness with your customer. You made them aware of a potential problem, and you potentially move into the next step, which is going out there and working with them to diagnose what the issue is. One of the examples I always use is aphids. You can't see aphids until they're on the top side of the leaf. They start on the bottom side. You can't pick them up with no matter how low and how slow you fly with standard imagery. But we can see stress. So we can point out an area of stress, guide you out there, walk out there with your grower where you make a decision what needs to take place. So once that decision is made, it doesn't stop there. Looking at how those plants are affected, looking at flying again and see if they go from yellow to green, from red to yellow. Was there a difference that's made prior to it coming off the yield monitor? Even I just walked through a scenario in which that was all plant related from the growing process. If I'm an equipment dealer, think about lack of emergence and how that can be relayed back to a potential equipment problem. Think about flying the field, going out, reviewing imagery, and showing that it actually wasn't the planter, but it was the tillage practice, it was potential impaction, there may have been washout. You have the ability to monitor every single acre. And the biggest thing that we provide is the ability to take your grower, or if you're a grower yourself, through the story of that field to make proper decisions year over year. So what do we do? What do we mean by doing that? Well, the main goal of this is to help build grower relationships. Everything hinges on how you relate to your grower. So by making useful insights timely inside the season, it allows you to sell more product, whether it's upgrading a planter, whether it's selling more seed, whether it's replant seed, whether it's an earlier buy decision for the next year, whether it's chemicals for an application because we're showing in-season uptake. Those relationships drive to more revenue for you. Also, we optimize your scouting resources. Whatever organization you're in, whether you are if I sell it, I scout it, if you have scouts, or even if scouting is not something that you traditionally do, let us optimize and a lot of times take care of that for you. When I talked about those notifications, we deliver them to you. Let us guide you to areas that you may never even go to the field, but you can quickly make a call, engage with your grower, and try to make a difference that way. We look at it as the where, when, and why to be somewhere. Instead of managing all your fields, let us lead you to the ones where there's potential problems. And you can manage your day with a management by exception policy. That creates grower loyalty. People buy from people they like and trust. So the more they can trust you, the more valid information you're feeding them, the more easier it is for them to make a decision. Because the decision always isn't based on performance. The decision is based on the people that's helping them drive to that performance. And the things that we're going to talk about go a long way to help driving those decisions. And it's all about delivering the season-long value. It's not just as planted data. It's not just yield monitor data. It's actual emergence information. It's actual leaf level crop health information and a yield estimation based on the number of plants still in the field and the size of ears that are on the plant. So it helps sell more product, sell more services. The overarching theme here is you can sell every acre because you have visibility to every acre. So what's included in this platform? So I've talked a little bit about notifications and talked about the components that go into that. So the first level that we provide is satellite imagery. And we do that in RGB, which is just normal imagery, just like you took with your iPhone, just a standard image set. NDVI, which is crop health. So early season to mid season, it's looking at, it's telling me the health of the biomass of the field. And then moving into late season, we have red edge. NDRE is red edge. And that really focuses on the late season, the late season stages of the plant, and gives us great, better canopy penetration to understand what's going on, and then if anything needs to be done. But we don't stop there, because I'm sure you've been seeing satellite data for years. And why is this different? Well, one of the ways we make it different is with our included weather and environmental tools. So weather forecasts, growing degree days, precipitation, all of those components combined with our satellite data and our soil data helps drive what we do next, which is our field agent notifications. So we're constantly monitoring the fields that are under your advisement to help guide you to those areas where you can make a difference. So we start with weather data, wind damage. None of us have experienced that lately. Wind, rain, hail, things of that nature, drought. Really understanding in our region where we're working, where we need to spend our time to make the biggest difference. Also, looking at that satellite data, that crop health imagery, not just presenting you with an image layer, but presenting you with a field where there has been a change in that satellite data. Combine that with drone data. It's not the notifications aren't just what we observe with the drone, but it's also when is it time to utilize it? Is it V2 because that's when it's time to start fly stand count? Is it V6 and V10 because that's optimal for scouting for nitrogen application? Is it when I'm predicted to be at VT so I can fly for tassel count? All of these things to help manage your business logistically so you know where to focus your time and effort on a day-to-day basis to make the biggest difference inside of your customer base. We take all of those components, combine them together, and deliver them via field agent notifications. And like I spoke in the beginning, I can utilize Climate Field View to engage with my customer. I get my notification in Field Agent, which is Sentera's platform, but I drop a pin in Climate Field View to walk out, review, take my scouting notes, take my ground documentation, and have all of my conversations inside of Field View where it should naturally happen. And it's the easiest way to know where to go, why to go, and when to go there. So then we get into what we're actually capturing with drone imagery. So many of you have probably had a drone for years. It was given to you, you bought it, and the premise of having a drone was to fly up, take a picture, and just look at a picture and try to figure out what's going on in the field. And there's a lot of information that can be gleaned from that. You know, you can see what's down, so on and so forth. But what do you do with it? We start taking it and moving it from more than just pretty pictures and putting it into outcomes. And we don't stop at outcomes. We actually allow actionable use cases out of our outcomes, starting with stand count. So I pull up to a field, and if I have an 80-acre field, depending on the drone that I'm using, this can be an 8-minute task, or it can be a 15 to 20-minute task, and I will have a stand count sample for every single acre of that field. What can I do with that? Well, I can validate seed performance. If it emerged, it's great. I can talk about my 2022 purchase now that we're in 2021. I can talk about my 2022 purchase and start leading with performance. If I have lack of performance, I can start using the underlying imagery to see why it isn't performing. Instead of it being the seed, instead of it being the equipment, was it product placement? Was it something environmental? How do I manage that? And then even providing a prescription map for reseeding. We can utilize the outcome, create a management zone, and you can have a replant map all from the one flight, which took 8 to 15 minutes in an 80-acre field, captured every single acre in less time. And in the same scenario, a human may take 6, hopefully 8 samples, and it would take even more time. And the thing that I didn't mention is all of this capability, you never need an internet connection for any of that to process. The drone lands, I take out my SD card, I put it in my laptop, and I can have all of my results at the field edge. I can create my management zone if I wanted to put it into another piece of equipment. I could thumb drive it, or the next time I get an internet connection, everything syncs to the cloud, and there it'll sync to field view, whatever piece of equipment you want it to go to. So all of that is actionable at the field edge, and it's your first indication of yield. Then we move into crop health imagery. We call it our ultra high definition, and we talk about NDVI, which is green to red early mid-season, and red edge, which is late season. Red edge is great for nitrogen. So same principle. I fly the field, I can process at the field edge without an internet connection. So think about this, and everyone will agree there's no such thing as a standard weather pattern anymore. Think about the difference 1 to 2 days can make in the ability to get something on the field. If I have the ability to be with a customer, capture this information, turn it into a management zone, apply a prescription to it and thumb drive it, never even need an internet connection. I can do all of this inside of hours, not days, and make a decision and drive to an application. That changes how we can do business. And it also changes the effectiveness of what we're telling our customers to do and the effect that it can have late season. And one of the best things about this is not only can we find problems which can help us drive to what a potential fix for a problem is, but we can also go back and fly and look at how those plants are being affected by the application. The difference between satellite data and our drone captured data is the ground sample distance. What that means is the satellite is looking at biomass. It's just looking bare earth versus plants across the entire field. When we fly with a drone, we're actually looking at leaf level reflectance. We're looking for the presence of water in that leaf. And if it's not there, we know it's under stress. And if it's under stress, we can tell you an area to go scout. And not just scout, but then take that, turn it into a management zone and an application layer. So that is our crop health imagery. And then we move into tassel count. And one of the things we all try to do is we all try to get customers to make decisions earlier and earlier. And when I have the ability to talk about what came out of the ground on every acre, talk about how every acre is performing on plant by plant basis, and then end the season with a tassel count. And what that means is early season, we're flying and counting little plants. Late season, we're literally counting the tassels on top of the plants in every image that we capture. And then we don't stop there. So we have an algorithm that gives you the number of plants that are standing in your field, but then you can go out and perform ear samples. So pull collar counts, kernel counts, as many as you want, and we'll average that ear size and put it against the actual number of plants standing in the field. So you have a very accurate yield estimation, because number of plants standing is probably the closest you can get to a direct correlation of what's going to come off the field combined with those ear samples. So that story that you have the ability to tell with the detail that you can tell it really makes a great experience for your customer. And those first two stages flow directly into Climate Field View for your customers to view. Something new that we're providing before tassel count is we're actually using satellite data for yield modeling. So we'll look at the biomass, we'll look at the NDVI data, and what we're going to do is, based on certain parameters that we have set up, we'll give you a yield estimation, and we'll do that 2 times before we do tassel count. So you'll be able to speak through in detail what your customers' expectations can be. And when you think about engaging with climate, you think about the story that I've told. Just from the plants coming out of the ground to the plants being at tassel. Traditionally, if a customer doesn't have compliant equipment, I don't really have a compelling story with Climate Field View, because it's reliant upon streaming data for the majority of their data components. But now, for those customers that don't have a compliant planter, I can start with as emerged as opposed to as planted, and walk them through their entire season inside a Climate Field View to help them drive a decision. And that may lead them to wanting to go to the next level of their climate engagement, which can lead them to compliant equipment. So it opens up the door for a whole new level of customer that you traditionally haven't focused. And it's all based on real outcomes that are delivered at the field edge. And by the way, when we talk about sending information to climate, it goes directly to the grower's field. So I'll walk through the integration process, but when you fly a field, you capture data, you process it. The next time you have an internet connection, it goes to our cloud, directly to Climate's cloud, to your dealer account, and straight through to the grower's field without ever touching anyone's data inbox. So not only are we delivering actionable data, we're delivering data that people don't have to go looking for. They go to the natural place to review their field. They don't go to the data inbox to look for it, to bring to the field to then review it. We make the experience easier for your customer to go into climate and find the information that they're looking for. So with that, I'm going to jump over and walk through a few scenarios and talk about a couple stories inside of Sentera's Field Agent. So Dallas, can you verify that you see my Field Agent screen?
I can see it. Thank you.
Perfect. So everyone, welcome to Sentera Field Agent. What this is our home screen. So I travel around the country a lot and I deal with a lot of fields. So all of these circles and all of these numbers are clusters of fields that are either under my advisement that I own or someone has shared with me. The red circles associated with them, there's a field there that has a notification. So I can quickly go click on that circle and see what's going on. Or the way that I like to manage my day, I just sort by notifications. And any field that has a potential issue, that has had a weather event, is brought to the top for me to review. I click in and it tells me what the issue is. That's how easy it is to manage my day. So go to my homepage, go to notifications, and I can knock off potential issues first before I get onto the things that I have to do after that. So very quick and easy in order to make a difference. Now, next, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk about our stand count product. Now, one thing to remember, when we talk about utilizing a drone, we have taken absolutely everything fun associated with a drone and removed it. It is literally go to a field, swipe left, say what you want to do, and the drone goes and comes back. Or that's with a quadcopter, anything manufactured by DJI, or with our fixed wing plane, go to the field, calibrate it, and this is a 3-minute process. Choose the field or fields I want to fly, what I want it to do, throw it, and select the landing area where I want it to come back. It is that simple. And we make it easy for you to manage it while it's in the air. So all of this is a matter of minutes to capture this level of detail. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to lead by telling a story. So I'm going to open up my screen here. And when I engage with the customer, I just want to show you a couple levels here. I have my heat map. So where am I performing? Where am I not performing? I have the ability to just start with my first level, but then I have the ability to fade the actual results in and talk about what's actually creating that map. So I'm going to go to my next tab because I've actually pre-clicked. When I have the ability, actually, let me go back. So let me tell you the story of this field. This field, across the top, the north section is one hybrid, the rest of the field is another hybrid. And the north end of the field is outperforming the rest of the field. And there's a great story as to why. Now, let's start talking about that story. So if I click in to one of these images, that's the great thing. So in 21 minutes, we caught 118 stand counts on this field. And this is the level of detail I have to get to. So when I look at how a product is not performing, I have the ability to get into this level of detail and talk through with my customer. And remember, as we transition to Climate Field View, we have the ability to take all of these images, associate them with regions and pins. So as you go through and understand the story, adding them to Climate Field View allows you to have the entire story encapsulated inside of the product that you're tasked with engaging. But here's what I want to do. I want to zoom in because this is where things start to get very interesting, is when you have the ability inside of those 118 images where there's, depending on row spacing, between 13 and 18 rows, I have the ability to get down to this detail inside all of those different rows of the field and talk about what's going on. It's pretty evident here that there's a washout. We're on the edge of a waterway. What you'll also notice is every place there's a red line is where a plant is missing. Just simply look at the red lines and the lack of a plant, and you can see how accurate we are. The great thing about this is this field is a great case study because on the north end of the field, it's on top of a hill. Great soil bed, dark soil, light residue, great conditions. The rest of the field is planted on a side hill and on the bottom. So more sand, more washout. This had nothing to do with hybrid performance. This had everything to do with product placement. So as a seed salesman, as a dealer, I have the ability to take the conversation from performance to placement and validate everything that I'm saying. If I'm selling a piece of equipment, I can talk about different practices that I may be able to use, whether it's using something different associated with my planter, so on and so forth. But I have the ability on every one of those images to go from this level of detail all the way down to 7 to 9 plants to tell the story of what I want my customer to experience. So that's the story of stand count. So minimal time to capture, field edge processing, automatically sent to Climate Field View, and the ability to tell the story down to individual plants to change it from performance to placement. So you look at the uses. If I didn't emerge and someone's saying it's the planter, I have the ability to say, no, this was washout. This had nothing to do with the planter. If I'm doing a hybrid comparison, this had nothing to do with the hybrid itself. This had everything to do with placement. Think about how this is a sales tool. We're not trying to overwhelm you with agronomic data. We're trying to help you engage where it makes sense, when it makes sense, and how it makes sense. And these are the ways that we do it. And just to remember, we have a training and onboarding team that some of you on the phone may know Zach Verpeer. He leads our implementation team. So this is the other thing. I talk about how easy this is, but we help make certain that this is easy. Because when you decide to come on board and partner with us, we send someone out to train you, and then we have continuing education throughout the year. So you have the ability to be comfortable and confident that you will be able to capture the data and deliver this level of detail to your customer after promising it to them. So that is crop health. Now I want to go through I want to walk through a scenario in which, there we go. I did an application and I want to see how it's performing. So this is one of our NDVI flights. So there's two benefits to NDVI. I'm going to talk about this. One is natural and one is something you probably wouldn't think of. So, but it applies, especially after last year. So what we did is we applied fungicide to this field, and you can probably tell where it was applied because it's a very green strip. So year one, there's value, but the direct value isn't there yet until the yield monitor runs. So what we noticed here is everywhere we applied, the plant stayed greener longer, it got greener faster, but the big difference is when we pulled it to climate and overlaid the yield map, and we saw that in certain areas there were 3 to 5 bushels per acre or 5 to 7 bushels per acre increase on every pass where we applied. Think about how that applies in the off season or next year's planning, and think about how that could potentially apply next season. When I can go out, do my application in a strip scenario, see how the crop is performing, correlate that to last year's results because I have my NDVI value that it changed to with a direct correlation to my yield map to show the actual dollars that are associated with it, and potentially grab more of the wallet share and apply broadly across this field or other fields to actually increase yield for your grower to make a difference. So the ability to make a difference in season, not just off season, by using the multiple data layers that are available to us. Now, the other component of this is the natural way an NDVI image is captured is near infrared, and it's a monochrome image. And there is no better way to notice downed plants in a field, corn, beans. Think about last year. You can fly the field, and using our boundary creation tool, I'll just show you how easy it is. So I want to create a boundary around an area. Let me just click and drag. Let me just do a rectangle, and that area will tell me, I'll just do damage, exactly how large that area is, down to the 100th of an acre. So this is 1.20 acres. So think about the value that if you have your own acres, or if you have growers that maybe there's a drift claim, maybe there's wind damage, the ability to isolate that via plant health and then actually create the boundaries and understand the exact loss. So from protecting yourself, you know what the exact loss is. From adding value to a grower, it puts them in a position of power, because if you know that they have 32% loss in the field, but they're being told it's 20%, they have the ability to show undeniable proof that this is the acreage that's covered. So adding value, being that advisor, and pulling information over. So that's a view into how data is captured and visualized inside of Sentera's Field Agent. Now, I'm going to go and I'm going to show you very quickly how we work with climate and make certain that all of the data flows freely and easily. So you have the ability to share data with your growers. So all I did is I simply clicked on connections, manage connections inside of Sentera Field Agent. And what I'm going to do is, if I've never done this before, it'll say connect to Climate Field View. I'm going to renew my connection, and it's going to come up with my climate login and ask me to log in. It's validating my username and password. And it's saying, can I retrieve field information? Can I send imagery? And can I retrieve basic account information? This is big because we've enhanced our integration this year. So the data that we pull from Climate is grower, farm, and field. We've enhanced our integration to make certain that all of those layers associated with the field come over. The field boundary, and also we've now enabled the ability for as planted data to come across. So if your grower streams as planted data to Climate Field View, that as planted data will flow into Sentera's field agent. Why is that significant? Because of notifications. Because for a notification to become valid, we need to know when a plant's in the ground and when it was planted and what was planted, and as much information as we can get, because the more information that's included, the more precise we can get on notifications. But all of that is automated once you stream the as planted data. So now, if I have 500 fields under advisement and 320 of them have streamed as planted data, I have notifications for every single field that as planted data was streamed. And if I want to do my own, if I want to set up notifications on my own, it's a simple process to set it up on a field by field scenario. But it is very critical. It's a big piece that we pulled over as planted data. The other component to that is for those of you who have used us in the past, this will be a very significant change for you. And for those who've never used us, now when you go to the field, if the as planted data is there, we now know row spacing, we now know planting date, and we now know seed, and we now know population. You no longer need to add that into the equation. We will grab it and use that in our algorithm automatically. So at the field edge, it's truly fly, capture, come back. You don't need to have that data readily available. If it's streamed to field view, it's streamed to field agent, and the data capture process is complete. So those are the data layers that we're sending over. I'm going to hit allow. I think I'm going to hit allow. There we go. And I've just connected. So username, password, okay, allow. I've just allowed Climate, Field View, and Sentera Field Agent to communicate with each other. There's only one more thing that I need to do. I need to go to Fields, and I need to import fields from Climate Field View. This is another enhancement that we made this year. In prior years, we would run into a cap where we would stop the import at 1,000 fields. We've blown through that. So now if you have 2,500 fields, if you have 10,000 fields, we will pull over every single field under your advisement, and there are no limitations. So as many fields as you have, including grower, farm, field, and as planted data, automatically stream from Climate Field View to Sentera's field agent. And remember, once you process data inside of Sentera's field agent, there is nothing you need to do to send it back to Field View. Once you have an internet connection, it's synced to our cloud, pushed to Climate, and disseminated to the grower's field, bypassing the data inbox, so no one needs to look for data. They're notified that there's something new at their field for them to go review. Made it very simple, very easy. So now I'm going to jump back to the presentation. I'm going to pull up how to engage inside of Climate Field View. If you'll bear with me 1 second, I just need to share my iPad quickly. And Dallas, if you could let me know when it shows up on the screen.
It is there.
Thank you, sir. All right, so everyone's familiar. Welcome to Climate Field View. Here's where you go to find our information. So my operation, the field that I've flown Texas Analytics. And now, if I go back to 2019, that's because that's when I knew I had a good image that I'd streamed. And we're located under in season. So if you go to in season and then other imagery, we appear on the left-hand side of the data card. Stand count, RGB imagery, so that's standard imagery. So if you're looking for tile lines, you can do that as well. And also our stand count. So here is stand count inside of Climate Field View. Red through green. Obviously green is good, red is bad. But like I spoke about before, the ability to drop a pin and make a difference by telling the story. Here's good stand. Not only can you pull the images over, one of the things that I like to do, we have a PDF report capability where you can create as much or as little detail as possible with clicks of a button. Do I want to include this image? Do I want to include that image? Creating that report so you have the entire story and associating it with a pin. That way, capture data for yourself, arm yourself with the knowledge, have it inside of Climate Field View with all of your supporting documentation and imagery, and every decision that needs to be made can happen inside of Climate Field View. And the integration was that simple and it's that timely. So very easy to get information in, push information back, and very easy to have any level of detail that you want available inside of Field View. So just to remember, when you go in, we're under other imagery, and we're a data card. The other thing I didn't do it. I don't have an NDVI flight present in here, but NDVI, crop health in season, pulls in as well. That's how easy it is to interact between Field Agent and Climate Field View. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump back into our presentation and talk about how dealers get involved. So depending on the brand you're associated with, who your sales rep is, there's many ways to get involved. You can always ask your Bayer representative and they can point you in the right direction. You can also, if you're DeKalb Asgrow Delta Pine, we have a landing page that's available. We can send that out afterwards. You can talk to your climate representative as well. Channel landing page. Anyone else? Talk to Dallas Ford and he will get you involved with your brand ambassador to make certain that you're in the right direction, or you're pointed in the right direction for what you need. Because one of the things I talked about earlier, the way that we include training and onboarding. We want to make certain that when you're trained and onboarded, that there are specific things that you want to capture. If there are specific criteria that the brand you're associated with is trying to drive, that we give you the proper training to make sure that you can achieve those initiatives. So we have multiple ways for growers to engage. The first thing is our full coverage package. And everything we talk about includes everything you need to run as many analytics as you want. And when we say analytics, that's stand, potentially Castle, and as many crop health flights as you could want to run. So in our full coverage package, it includes our PHX fixed wing drone and our double 4K sensor. What does that mean? That just means you have the ability to go capture 600 acres an hour on stand and tassel and over 1,200 acres an hour in season on crop health flights. Well, if I don't have a lot of 600 or 1,200 acre fields, what does that matter? It matters a lot because I can fly as many fields as I want in one flight. And when you bring in the data, we sort them into field boundaries that exist inside a Field Agent. So I can go knock out 5, 6, 7 fields at a time and have 100% coverage of that field and have Centera sort everything out and deliver the results back to me. So it's the drone, it's the sensor, it's our Field Agent license, which includes our Field View integration, the ability to process, view, and analyze data, and also field agent notifications. So all of those notifications. And one thing that I didn't talk about on notifications is all of us are in business to gain more business. How do I do that? By trying to find an advantage on my competition. Field agent notifications, you don't have to set them up just on fields that you manage. If you want to set them up over an area of interest where you may be trying to access business from a grower, get notifications so you know where, when, and why to take them to talk about why they should come on board with you next year. So also moving on to analytics, stand count, tassel count, our yield estimate, and this is something as well. We always want to drive people inside of Climate Field View. Our goal is to gain engagement inside of Climate Field View. But if there's an instance where you have a customer that doesn't have Field View, you have unlimited viewer licenses. You can share the entire experience with your grower all year at no cost to you. That's included in the package. So that's our full coverage package. Then we move into a focused scouting package. And this is a DJI quadcopter. A lot of you have probably seen them. You can get them Best Buy, Target, anywhere. And a lot of you have probably been given them at some point in time. You can actually go capture stand count data without purchasing our sensor. So if you have one, you can talk to us about how to utilize it. But if you don't, we will sell you the drone equipped with a sensor that can give you NDVI, so true leaf level reflection on early and mid-season crop health, and red edge, so late season. So I can look for those nitrogen issues. And everything you need to stay in the air all day. 4 batteries, a hard case, everything that you need. On top of that field agent license, which includes the same things that we talked about before, and analytics. The only difference is you cannot perform tassel count on broad scale with a DJI drone. The resolution is just not good enough to get that, and we're working on correcting that. But you have everything but tassel count. And then if you already have a drone, so people who already have a PHX, you just need to renew your annual field agent license and your unlimited analytics. Same with a DJI Phantom 4 or a Mavic 2 Pro. You have the ability to just renew. Or if you currently own any of the DJI products that I mentioned, the Phantom 4 Pro or the Mavic 2 Pro, you can utilize that to go capture stand count right now. Even without adding one of our sensors, you can use the standard camera to go fly your field, and we will give you what's called a synthetic NDVI. We'll apply a filter over it. It's not as accurate because you're not reading true leaf level reflection, but you still have a very detailed way to capture crop health imagery and share it with your growers with something you may actually have sitting in your shop right now. And then that's all I have from a presentation standpoint. Do we have questions? And Mindy and Scott, I'll turn it back over to you to facilitate those.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. That was a great presentation and a lot of information. And I appreciate you both hitting on, some of the information for dealers, but also growers. So this is a tool that both dealers and growers can use alike. We do have a couple questions that have come in. The first one is, can you run Sentera on an Apple computer? This individual has had experience that at one point it may have only been available on a PC.
It is. The Field View application, the desktop application, is optimized for a PC. It's officially unsupported on an Apple. I will leave you that. But what you can do is you can utilize the web application and do all of your processing via the web. So you can't use the desktop application on an Apple, but you can definitely access our web application, upload all of your imagery, and do all of your analytic processing on an Apple via our web application.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. The other question that we have, and this may actually be a question for Scott right before he does his closing remarks, and so I may pass the ball over to him real quick, but where can you find resources related to FieldView and Sentara, and how do we find those? So I think I'm just going to pass this over to Scott, if you're good with that, Scott, and I'll let you show our website and show folks where they can find the Sentara FieldView integration guide.
Yeah, definitely. Let me pull the screen up here real quick.
And Scott, while you're doing that, I'll just cover some of our other resources that are available. We do have what we call climate activation managers, which Scott is one of those, and we have climate activation specialists, and we can work with those folks to get help to you as well out there on your farm. So Scott, I see that you have Knowledge Center brought up, and I actually misguided you. If you could go up to the Partners tab here on our website. Yep, there you go. And that is where you would see the integration guide for Sentara. And we are working on getting those integration guides over to our Knowledge Center too, but this is where you would find that guide. And if you click on it, then it comes up and it shows exactly those steps that Greg went through earlier on how to connect FieldView and Sentara.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Mindy. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining. I think you can see there's some really neat opportunities here working together with both Climate FieldView as well as our platform partnership with Sentara. I know one of the things that I was doing as we were going through the presentation was attaching some screenshots from Sentara into a FieldView account. And so what you can do now as of this week is actually attach any images and any field region reports that you'd like on climate.com. So the field region reports that you've been able to do on the FieldView app and on the CAB app, you also have the ability now to draw those field region reports on climate.com and attach images to those. So things of interest can definitely get those added to the field region reports. Mindy, are there any other questions before I wrap up?
Yes, actually, thank you, Scott. We do have one more question, and this is for our friends at Sentara. Do you assist with the remote pilot licensing to fly the drones?
So we do not do the training, but we point you in the right direction. Generally, what we do is we partner with an organization called Remote Pilot 101, where they provide you a guide. It's an online experience with all of the tutorials you need in order to go take your Part 107 test, and you own that forever. And it's the initial test that they help you prepare for, and also the every 2-year renewal. So we don't do that directly, but we point you to one of our partners that's their specialty, that's what they do. And it's really affordable to do that, and it lives with you for the rest of your existence.
Excellent. That's great information.
Perfect.
So, Scott,
Mindy, any other questions? Or?
Yeah, we're
Perfect.
taking along the same line.
Great. Well, no, thanks everybody so much for attending. If you've got any questions on climate, like Mindy said, please reach out to us on the climate team. Also, I wanted to put a plug in to join us on February 11th. Will be our next installment of our Friends with FieldView series, where we'll be discussing profit layers with our friends at Ag Analytics. So be on the lookout in your email for an invite for that next session. But we appreciate the time this morning, and please let us know if there's anything we can help you with. Thanks again for joining.
As we conclude this session of the Friends with FieldView webinar, I want to remind you of the Climate Corporation's data privacy policy. Your permission is required. We do not share customer data with third parties without your consent. Third-party platform or agronomic partners will not see your data unless you choose to share or link your accounts with them. FieldView customers are in the driver's seat regarding their data. For more on our commitment to data privacy, see our website, climate.com/data-privacy for more information.